She shot my autistic son with a taser, right there in the middle of a crowded food court like he was some kind of threat. He was 12. He was sitting on a bench. He was flapping his hands and humming to himself like he always does when the world gets a little too loud. He wasn't bothering a soul, and she smiled when she did it, like she'd just saved the day. That woman had no idea who she was dealing with. Not because I'm anybody special on the outside. I'm just the guy who walks his dog at 6 a.m., waves to the neighbors, keeps the grass neat, and mostly keeps to myself. But she didn't know that under the polite nods and small talk, I'm also Sheriff Marcus Dean, 25 years in law enforcement. And that boy she tossed? That's my son. Eli. Let me back up just a bit. Eli's not like most kids. He came into our lives after years of trying and failing. My wife, Rachel, and I had almost given up when he showed up, quiet, wide-eyed, and with a laugh that came out like music when he was happy. He was diagnosed with autism around age 4. At first, I didn't handle it well. I'm a fixer by trade, problems, patterns, suspects. But autism isn't something you fix. It's something you learn to respect. Took me longer than I'd like to admit, but I got there. Now every Saturday is Eli Day. He chooses. Sometimes we go to the park. Sometimes the pier. And sometimes, like that day, we just sit at the mall and people watch. He loves that. He calls it watching the world spin. That day was supposed to be ordinary. I had a rare Saturday off and dropped Eli and Rachel at the mall while I met a retired buddy from the force for coffee 2 miles away. It was routine, safe, familiar. Then my phone rang, and everything ordinary about that day shattered. Rachel was screaming so loud. I couldn't even make out the words, just one, Eli. My stomach dropped like I'd been punched. I didn't wait. I didn't pay my tab. I ran to my truck and floored it. Lights on, sirens off. I needed to get there fast, but I wasn't showing up as sheriff. I was showing up as a father whose son had just been hurt. By the time I got to the mall, the place was chaos. Security guards were talking into radios. People were gathered near the fountain. And there he was, my boy, curled on his side on the tile floor. His hoodie bunched up, one shoe missing, his body twitching like a frayed wire. EMTs were crouched over him, and Rachel was right there, pale as chalk. Crying but not touching him, scared she'd make it worse. She looked up at me and said, "He's not speaking, Marcus. He's not saying anything." Eli usually doesn't say much, but in that moment, nothing. Just blank eyes and shallow breathing. I turned to the EMT. "What happened?" He said quietly, "Civilian taser, sir." Mall footage confirms it was a woman. Security's got the details. "Name?" I asked, but deep down, I already knew. Camille Ashcroft. That name probably doesn't mean anything to you, but in our neighborhood, it's synonymous with control. She's the president of the Crestview Pines HOA. Self-appointed, of course. Nobody ran against her because nobody thought someone could do much harm organizing bake sales and lawn citations. But Camille? Camille ran the HOA like a private kingdom. Fines for flags, notices for flower pots not matching the approved palette, and emails about non-compliant noises, which once included a kid playing the recorder on his porch. And now, she'd taken her delusions of authority to a whole new level. I spotted her by the smoothie stand, arms crossed, telling a security guard how she neutralized a threat. That's the phrase she used. Neutralized. I walked up, fast but steady, and she turned like she was expecting a handshake. "Sheriff Dean," she said, like we were old friends at a PTA meeting. "You should know, your son." Don't. I cut her off. "Don't say his name. You assaulted a child." "My child." He was flapping and mumbling. He looked unstable. I felt threatened. "He's autistic," I said flatly. "That's how he regulates. He wasn't a threat to anyone, least of all you." "I didn't know that," she snapped. "And yet you tossed him." Security stepped between us, told me to keep it calm. I showed them my badge and told them to pull every second of footage from the last hour. I wanted every angle, every witness. And I wanted her in cuffs, not escorted. Not patted on the back for her bravery, cuffed, like any other suspect. Camille scoffed. This is an overreaction. You electrocuted a 12-year-old boy sitting on a bench, I said. There's no overreaction big enough. By some miracle, a woman named Nina had recorded the whole thing. She was shaking when she handed over her phone but said, "He didn't do anything. He just sat there." The footage was all I needed. Camille walked up to Eli, said something. He didn't answer. She raised her voice. Still nothing. And then a zap. No warning, no escalation. Just taser wires and a boy crumpling like paper. Camille was arrested on the spot. Tried to claim she acted in self-defense. Claimed she had a right to protect the community. But this time, the community wasn't having it. Not after seeing that video. Eli spent the night in the hospital. No permanent burns, thank God. But the doctors couldn't tell us what it meant for his brain. Autism means the world's already too much, too loud, too bright. A taser? It could set him back years. Rachel didn't sleep. Neither did I. I just sat there holding Eli's hand. Whispering stories about our fishing plans, his favorite stars, how he was safe now, even if I didn't quite believe it yet. By morning, Camille's face was on every local news channel. Her mugshot had that look, like she still couldn't believe someone dared tell her no. The footage had gone viral. Parents of special needs kids, veterans, teachers, strangers, they were furious. But fury on the internet doesn't fix a broken boy. I called Deputy Sarah Martinez, one of the best I ever trained, and told her I was stepping back from the case personally but watching every step. She gave me the update. Unlicensed taser, 6 eyewitnesses, 3 different camera angles. The DA was moving fast. Camille was facing felony assault, child endangerment, unlawful possession of a weapon. But it wasn't enough for her to go to jail. She needed to be stripped of the power she abused. The HOA called an emergency meeting, and this time, the whole neighborhood showed up. I went not as sheriff, but as a neighbor. I wore jeans into flannel. Brought a folder full of witness statements, stills from the footage, and a photo of Eli lying in that hospital bed with wires taped to his chest. This, I said, holding it up, is what happens when someone mistakes power for purpose. The room went silent. Then someone said, "Throw her out." The board didn't hesitate. Camille was removed unanimously. No one stood up to defend her. But the real moment came days later, at home. Eli hadn't said much since the incident. But one afternoon, he handed me a picture he'd drawn. It showed a boy walking away from a gray house with lightning bolts on the roof. Beside him, a tall man holding his hand. I pointed to the boy and said, "That you?" He nodded. "And him?" "That's you," he said softly. "My shield." That's when I knew he was going to be okay. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. Camille went to trial. She had a fancy lawyer who tried to paint her as the victim, said she feared for her life, felt cornered. But facts don't flinch. Amanda's footage played in court, and people gasped when they saw Eli fall. The EMT testified. So did the doctor. So did Rachel. And finally, I stood and said, I don't want revenge. I want safety. For my son. For every kid who's different. The jury didn't take long. Guilty on all counts. 7 years. No parole for 4. After that, the HOA was turned upside down. Her supporters either resigned or apologized. The rules she passed were repealed. Fines refunded. For the first time in years, the neighborhood felt like neighbors again. Eli's still healing. He doesn't like malls anymore, but he paints. He laughs more. And every Saturday, we sit on the porch and draw sidewalk chalk shields together. We call it Shield Hour. And let me tell you, no badge, no title, no courtroom victory compares to that. Now let me ask you something. What would you have done if someone tossed your kid for flapping his hands? What should justice look like when power is used to hurt the innocent? Let me know in the comments, and if you believe compassion matters more than control. Hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We tell real stories like this every day, and your voice helps them be heard. Thanks for listening. Stay kind. Stay watchful. And if you see injustice, don't stay quiet. Because someone's shield might depend on it.